The first thing I want to talk about is the price engine. Price engines are interesting, right? Because they fall in all sorts of interesting scenarios. And Ucommerce has always had a really extensible price engine, but with this release, we're really beefing it up and making it super helpful for a bunch of scenarios. And we're doing it with two core features. First one is derived price groups, and the second one is contextual price groups. Derived price groups is a pretty simple idea with some pretty big ramifications of what you can do with it. So a derived price group is essentially your ability to set up a price list and then create another price list based off of that, or another. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking let's say pricing for a couple of 100,000 products, and maybe you only have to tweak some of those prices. So to do that, you create a price list, set up all the prices, create another price list derived from that, where you override only the differences that you need. Let's take a look at how that works in practice. So a core scenario for B2B is customer-specific pricing. So as a B2B, you have a bunch of customers, and it is pretty common for those customers to have their own pre-negotiated price deals, right? So account X, Y, and Z will have access to many of the same products, not necessarily all, but they will have different pricing based on the volume and the terms that they have negotiated with you as a B2B merchant. So the way derived price groups work in this particular scenario is such that you create one price list with all your prices for all the products you have. Then you create another price list for trading partner X or account X, in this case, where you modify those prices that need to be modified. Same thing for the next and the next and the next, and you can have a lot of derived price groups in here. So you are able to have a price group per business to business customer. This is also great for loyalty programs. You can sort of see how it would work in a B2C scenario where you may, maybe you have a subscription to a service and that buys you lower prices on things. So silver, gold, platinum, you start with the base price that everybody pays, and then they inherit down until you reach the platinum level. Same idea for B2C. And of course, there's a ton of other scenarios. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like in practice. We introduced a bunch of new UIs and experiences to support this, and this is what it looks like. So this is Ucommerce running with our Condo UI. We will take a look at the settings area here where we introduce these new capabilities. So within that, we have the price app here that I can navigate into and see the price groups that I've set up. I have maybe 1,000 price groups in here, so no biggie. It's just something so we can see how it works. It's data I generated. Now to create the base price group, I go up here and select new. And you'll see here I can create a base price group or a derived price group. So I'll create a base price group. I'll select my currency, and I have a bunch, so I'll just search for the one I want real quick, like that, and we'll call it base USD. Next, tax rate, we're not going to use that. And with that, I've created my new price group up here, and I can navigate to that. Now, the criteria, the idea here is to create then a base set of prices. So I'll start by adding some products to my price list here. And I can search a little bit to find a couple of SKUs. I'll just do 3, but you can add more. And there are also APIs to control all this, so you can import in from an external source. I'm just setting it up to illustrate here. So I'll set a price for my first product, and I'll set one for my second one and the third one. And it's, just product 1, 2, and 3. That's it. So this is their base price. Now I have this chat with my business-to-business partner, and I need to introduce pricing that is particular for that person. So I can go to derived price groups here, and notice there are none at the moment, but I can create a new one right here where I'm working with this. So I don't have to leave the experience. I just stay here, and I can then update. So I'll create my account X for lack of a better word, and we're not using taxes here, so we'll just add that one. Now, what happened here is that as I created this, it's related to the base USD price group, right? So in effect, the 3 products I added before are also priced here, but they remain at the same price as before. So to override that price in some instances or all, I can navigate to my derived price group, navigate to the price list, and I can start to add those products in. So I'll just find my 3 SKUs from before, 1, 2, and 3. In this case, I'm only interested in overriding 2 because that's the only couple of SKUs that I added, that I have negotiated prices on, like that. And you can see here the base price, right? So what is the original price? And I can go ahead and say, well, maybe I will provide a 10% discount here. So I can go ahead and add that. And I can go ahead and add it here. The cool thing about this is that now, as account X comes in here and gets pricing, product 1 and 2 will be my special price that I pre-negotiated. And product 3, which is also part of this price set, will have its original price, but it will be transparent when you're sort of starting to request prices and things like that. And that's the power of this, that you can set up these pretty advanced price structures and then, only deal with the bits and bobs of it, which are different. So you don't have to sort of set up like multiple copies of the same price list again and again. So that's derived prices. And of course, I can go ahead and create for my other account. So right now I have one account, and I'll set up account Y as well, like that. And now I have my account X and Y, and I can navigate to that. And of course, I can override a couple of other product prices in this. So I'll search again to find them, and I'm just going to override the third one and the second one, but not the first one in this case. And the idea here again is maybe I'm getting 30% on this one. Oops, that's not 30%. Let me just change that to actual 30%, like that. And this one here, something like that, right? So I navigate back to my price, and you can see my account X and account Y. They are targeting the same products, but they're overriding differently. And that's the gist of it. That's how it works. Cool. Loyalty programs, you can see how that would work. It's the same basic idea, but the use case is a little different. Let's move on to the next scenario here, which is market-specific pricing. So say you have a market that has some similarities, but also some differences, right? So in this case, I'm working with manufacturer suggested retail pricing. That's the default. And then I'm overriding that in different markets, maybe based on buying power or some other parameters that make sense. So the general idea is the same, right? I'll go ahead and set up my base prices, my MSRPs here. I'll go find euros in this case here, like that, and MSRP euro, oh, like that. Taxes, we'll talk about that in a moment. There's a cool thing there that I'm happy to show in a little bit. And, we'll go ahead and create the markets here as well. So we'll do Germany, and a tax rate of 0, and we'll do, let's do France, right? That's a nice place. Here we go, tax rate of 0, and done. Okay, same idea. You now use it for B2C pricing, but it's the same general idea. What you can do it in the states as well. So if you want to do state-based pricing, same basic principle. As you notice, I'm just typing in the names and things. So you can do this by arbitrary market segment. So if you define your markets differently, it doesn't have to be a country. It doesn't have to be a state. It can be like a bunch of states or whatever. You can define your own regions and things like that if you want to, and also further subdivide the price list. So they don't just go in 1, 2 levels. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, down, 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 as far as you need them to go. So that's pricing. I'm sure you'll have a bunch of other interesting scenarios to use for it. It's like a simple but powerful feature that can be used for many different scenarios. I'm just highlighting a few here. One thing that you can also do with it, which I'm pretty excited about, is market-specific taxation. So in the States, for example, you'll have different sales tax in different states, right? 1% for one state, another percentage for the next. And you can actually use the system to support that in a pretty clever way, if I do say so myself. The idea is essentially, let me go to Ucommerce instead here, is to create a new price list. We'll use US dollars again. And we'll use MSRP USD for this one. We'll set a tax rate of 0 because we don't have a great default for that. Now I can go to my base USD here, my MSRP USD, and I can I can add my products from before. So we'll just do, we'll add some products here, and we'll just be real quick about it, add a bunch. The idea with this one is that I add products with US dollar pricing in here. Like that. The pricing doesn't matter much. In this case here, you can sort of imagine how that would be imported from a different system. Good, so we have the products in play. Now the goal here is, rather than overriding prices, we're looking at overriding something different, the tax rate, right? So when I create a new price group here, let's call it Massachusetts, right? And we can set a price, a tax rate of 6. And I can go ahead and create another one for Florida. I'm not sure what the tax rate is. Let's call it 5. And I can create another one for California, 6%. With that, sorry, I got ahead of myself. With that, I have a tax rate here, and I have some products in the base price list down here. They will actually populate down to these price lists, but I'm not overriding any product pricing here. So you'll see no product price overrides here. But what I am overriding is the tax rate, as you can see in the previous view here. So 5, 6, and 6%, which means I'm getting all the standard pricing across all states, but I'm getting different tax rates in particular states. And so we're overriding, parts of the price group instead of the actual prices. It's a pretty simple way to do a simple tax engine inside of Ucommerce. And of course, it works for the EU VAT rules as well. You can go ahead and do the same thing for European countries, where if you have high enough turnover in a particular market, you have to pay VAT in that particular country. So you can model that. So I'm pretty happy about that. It's kind of cool. This is basically, you can override any aspect of the tax of the price group. It doesn't have to just be the tax rate. It can be any dimension on the price group. So there's a lot of interesting scenarios that will start to play out very soon. There's one thing that you can, which is currency. We have to sort of, if you have a price defined here, you can use a different currency lower down in the hierarchy. It wouldn't make sense to have set a price at €1 and then start using Danish kroner, because it would completely redefine what is what. So there is a limitation here, and that's it. Alrighty, I just wanted to make sure I said this out loud. Of course, it can be used for retail prices with an MSRP fallback. If you want to, again, you maintain only the differences. You don't have to worry about, all the products that don't need to be overridden. So basically, you request a price here, and if you don't have a price, Ucommerce will fall back to a default price. So it's a pretty powerful capability. So that's the derived price group capability. It's great for B2B customer pricing, loyalty programs, market-specific pricing, taxation in EU and US, retail fallbacks, and I'm sure you can come up with a ton more of things to use this awesome capability for. I was super excited when I saw it the first time, and I have been really eager to show you guys. I hope you see it and you think this is something that's super cool. But it's only half of the equation, because remember, there were 2 capabilities and this is just the one. So let's take a look at the other one. We call it contextual pricing. And the idea here is that, one thing is setting up prices and making the price lists available. Another thing is when to actually activate these prices for a customer. And that's what contextual pricing is all about. It is about, based on what the customer sees and does, activate automatically a set of prices. You set it and you forget it. That's the idea. So how does it work? Well, we essentially attach rules to the price groups that you saw before, which will pick them out of the crowd based on the context of the customer. And with this release of Ucommerce, we're shipping one rule and the engine itself. So the one rule we ship is time-based pricing, which is, just a place to get started. What you can do here is you can attach to a price group an interval that this price group should be active for. And then once that's done, it deactivates and disappears from the world. It can be used for a couple of pretty useful scenarios. In B2C, for example, you can prepare seasonal pricing in advance, right? So you can go ahead and prepare your fall pricing during the summer so it's ready to kick in. Or if you turn back to the scenario of B2B customer pre-negotiated prices, you can imagine a scenario where you have a like a pre-negotiated price deal for a certain set of products in current fiscal year. And then, nearing the end of the term for that particular deal, you negotiate a new deal and you need that to kick in, at the end of the original one. So how would that look? Well, it would look a little something like this. So I'll actually go back to the price groups that we had before. So remember my account X and Y, right? So I want to take my account X here and I want to prepare the next year's price list. So what I can do is I can navigate in here and I'll just rename this one so it becomes a little more clear what I'm doing. So I'll call this fiscal year 24. And I'll see if I can do an actual parentheses here. There we go. Okay. So I just changed the name, so that's not quite enough, right? I also need to make sure that it kicks in at the appropriate times. This one is active currently, right? So I want to make sure that I add a criteria here, which is time-based. So I'm going to pick the default time-based criterion, and I'm going to activate it. Now, I activate it from today because it is already going, right? And I just, see if I can do it right. Here, there, and we navigate to December, like that, and we apply, like that. Right? So now my account X price list is active until the end of December. That's it. You can see how I can pick a time too if you want to be very specific about it. But for the intensive purposes of what we're doing here, doesn't matter. Now I need to prepare my second price list for this particular account. And of course I go back to my base price group and I create another derived list here, which will be account X. And it will be fiscal year 25. Sorry about that. No tax rate, and we'll create that. And like before, I'll go in and I'll hit the criteria here, and I'll add a time-based criterion with a period that goes from January instead of September. So it can take over from the fiscal year 24 list, and it'll go to let's just say the end of the year, right? Here we go. Done. And that's it, right? So I can go back to the list and basically I now have those two pre-negotiated price lists for my account, one for the current year and one for the next year. You don't have to be up in the middle of the night as a chump to enable it or anything like that. It just works. It kicks in when you want it to. So it's pretty convenient. And of course you can do it for all your accounts year over year if you want to. So pretty convenient way to work with it. Now, there's only that one rule out of the box to begin with, but as you can see, we've laid out the foundations to do even more. So you can add multiple rules if you want. So you could have multiple time-based triggers, right? So you can have a price list that activates in January, then skips February and activates again in March if you want to. You can also have different types of rules combined if you want to. With these contextual price groups and of course derived price groups to create those hierarchies of price lists for market specification or business to business pricing or whatever makes sense for you.